Today I thought I might make beef hamburger steak, Poppy's favorite, since I can finally get home early. As I walked home, imagining her delighted face, I reached the front of our house. Just then, a car turned the corner, so I moved to the side of the road to make way. The car slowly passed in front of me. In the driver's seat was my husband Henry, and in the passenger seat sat Poppy. As I watched the taillights disappear into the distance, I was struck by an overwhelming sense of unease. Poppy sat slumped in the passenger seat, her lips tightly drawn. Her expression resembled the one she makes when she's being scolded. They certainly didn't look like they were heading out for fun. About 2 weeks later, I was at the car dealership. "We've been expecting you. The inspection is complete, but..." The mechanic rubbed his hands together nervously, seeming hesitant to continue. "Your husband has been using this car recently, right? This is difficult to discuss here. Would you mind coming with me to check something?" I followed the mechanic to where the car was parked. He opened the car and pulled out a plastic bag. "Actually, we found this on the floor during inspection." I was shocked by what I saw in the bag. It was Poppy's missing underwear. The crumpled underwear was quite dirty. So that's what was going on. "I don't want this car anymore. Please dispose of this car," I said before heading home. "My name is Anne. I sit at the dinner table with my husband Henry, my daughter Allison, and my granddaughter Poppy." 8-year-old Poppy seems to be enjoying the new school term. With her mouth full of food, she enthusiastically tells us about events at school. And then, one of my friends got scolded by the teacher. "Poppy, swallow your food before speaking." Poppy obediently listened to her mother, swallowed, and immediately started talking again. Allison smiled helplessly but listened to Poppy's stories with evident enjoyment. Poppy is truly adorable. The phrase, "innocently cheerful," must have been created just for her. And then, "Grandma, the teacher chased a rabbit and fell into a hole." My goodness, that must have been something. Was the teacher hurt? I don't think so. But their face turned bright red. Allison and I laughed heartily at Poppy's story. I'm so happy we can spend such peaceful moments together. But such moments don't last long. Suddenly, Henry's angry voice boomed across the dining table. "What the hell? Why didn't you attack there? You coward. What have you been doing all this time?" Henry was yelling at the TV, not at us. A basketball game was playing. Henry played basketball in his student days, and watching games is still his hobby. But when he watches games, he has no problem spewing vulgar language even in front of Poppy. Now too, he's complaining about a player's mistake without any regard for us. Move forward there. Why aren't you moving? Are you an amateur? Useless. The noise was getting on my nerves too, not with the players, but with Henry. Such foul language is ruining our dinner. If he has so many complaints about the players, he should become a coach or play himself. Though I thought this, I was too afraid to say anything for fear of his anger turning toward me. Once when I cautiously pointed something out to him, although he didn't raise his hand against me, he stormed out of the house hurling abuse. Even after he returned, his bad mood lasted for days, and we couldn't even have a conversation. Remembering that, I think it's better to let sleeping dogs lie. Across from me, Allison and Poppy have lost their earlier smiles and are quietly eating with downcast eyes. Looking closer, I can see Poppy's fingers and lips trembling slightly. The uncomfortable atmosphere makes us scatter from the dining table like spiders. While I'm washing dishes in the kitchen, the door opens and Allison peeks in. Her expression is stern, as if something's wrong. "Mom, do you have a minute?" "What is it?" "Is something wrong?" "I was putting away the laundry, and one of Poppy's pairs of underwear is missing. Do you know anything about it?" I stopped washing dishes and looked at Allison. "Underwear? Maybe it fell while hanging the laundry?" Allison crossed her arms and came closer, lowering her voice to almost a whisper. "I thought so too and looked everywhere, but I can't find it." "Maybe someone stole it." "Stop that, that's impossible." "It probably got mixed in with something else." "I'll look for it later." While we were talking, Poppy peeked through the door gap. "Oh, Poppy. Have you finished brushing your teeth?" "Yes, all done." "Poppy, didn't you lose a pair of underwear?" When Allison asked this, Poppy looked away. "I don't know." "Really?" Just as Allison was about to question Poppy further, another angry shout came from the living room. "Why would you do that there? You're terrible. Just quit." What kind of coaching produces such an embarrassing game? Here we go again. I wish the game would end soon. I sighed. Allison sighed too. Poppy had taken the opportunity to go to her room and was no longer by the door. "Mom, isn't there something we can do about that?" "If there was, I wouldn't be having such a hard time." "You should go to bed too." "I'll go after I finish cleaning up." "You're right." "Good night then." The next day, I was standing at the entrance seeing off Allison as she left for work. It was just past 6:30. "I'm heading out. Please take care of Poppy," Allison, dressed in her suit, said to me. She's always been conscientious and seems to feel guilty about having us look after her child. I wish she wouldn't be so formal about it. Poppy is my beloved granddaughter, after all. Don't worry. Poppy will be at school while I'm at my part-time job anyway. My work is in its busy season, so I'll be working late, but Henry will be here, so there's nothing to worry about. Thank you. Allison said this while checking her bag for anything she might have forgotten. Then Poppy came, ready for school. "Oh, Poppy. Already prepared? Good girl." Poppy smiled happily. Allison bent down to meet Poppy's eyes and said, "Be a good girl and listen to Grandma. I'm off to work now." "Okay, I understand." Allison rushed out of the house. She's really grown into a reliable adult. It's hard to believe she used to be so sickly and prone to illness. When she divorced her husband due to his infidelity and moved in here with Poppy, I was worried about how things would turn out, but she seems to have found her stability now. Later, as I was preparing for my part-time job, it was past 7 o'clock. It was time for Poppy to go to school, so I was about to see her off when I noticed something different about her. After thinking for a moment, I realized what felt off. "Poppy, what happened to your hairpin? You know, the one you really liked." At my question, Poppy's eyes darted around. The teacher gets angry if we wear hairpins, so I decided not to wear it." "What? Is that so? But I don't remember seeing any such notice." Just as I said this, Henry came down from the second floor. As soon as Poppy saw him, she caught her breath. Then quickly saying, "I'm going now.
Bye."
She rushed outside. "Is Poppy hiding something from us?" And she seemed scared of Henry. I thought I should talk to Henry when the time was right, for Poppy's sake. Henry was sitting on the sofa watching TV in his pajamas. Since retiring, he's been working as a contract employee, but he has more days off than before. "Hey, since my work is getting busy, please look after Poppy when she gets home." "I know. Don't worry about it. Also, the car inspection is coming up soon, so there will be days when we can't use the car." After telling him just that, I finished preparing for work and left the house before noon. My workplace is a restaurant not too far from home. Usually it's not too busy, but now it's peak season and quite crowded. Though I'm worried about Poppy, I switched my mindset and walked to work. As expected, the restaurant was full of reservations and extremely busy that day. Between taking orders from constantly arriving customers and handling complaints, I barely had any break time. When I left work, it was already past 9 p.m. But Allison probably hasn't returned home either. She's desperately trying to earn money for Poppy's sake. She even got permission from her company to work a part-time job after her regular hours. I just hope she doesn't overwork herself and collapse. I was thinking about these things as I walked home. When I turned the corner and saw our house, I stopped in my tracks, sensing something wrong. For some reason, no lights were on at home. And Henry's car wasn't there either. Henry must have gone somewhere with Poppy. Maybe they went to the nearby shopping mall. But is it okay to be out this late? I hope they haven't gotten into any trouble. Feeling anxious, I took dinner out of the refrigerator and heated it in the microwave. Just then, Henry and Poppy returned home. "Welcome back. Where were you?" But neither of them answered my question. "Would you like to take a shower first? Or have dinner?" When I asked this, Henry just said dinner. Poppy's face showed no smile, and she kept her head down without saying anything. Something's wrong with Poppy. Did she force herself to stay with Henry even though she's scared of him? "Poppy, shall we take a shower?" I deliberately avoided mentioning it and took Poppy's hand. But she shook off my hand and said, "I'm fine. I can do it myself," before quickly heading to the bathroom. Something definitely happened between her and Henry. Looking at her small retreating figure, I felt tears welling up. As Henry finished eating, Poppy came out of the bathroom, and Henry went in to take his turn. I watched Poppy as she ate her dinner. But Poppy didn't try to cheerfully tell me about her day at school as usual. She seemed terribly tired. "Poppy, where did you go with Grandpa?" When I asked this, Poppy just said it's secret and wouldn't say anything more. Then after finishing her dinner, she hurriedly went to her room. Though concerned about both of them, I finished my own meal. A few days later, my busy season at work finally ended. Since I could get home early for the first time in a while, I thought I'd make Poppy's favorite beef hamburger steak. I walked home imagining Poppy's happy face, and when I reached the front of our house, a car turned the corner, so I moved to the side of the road to make way. "Oh, Henry, where are they going?" Henry was in the driver's seat, and Poppy was in the passenger seat. They didn't seem to notice me and drove away. As I watched the taillights disappear, I was struck by an overwhelming sense of unease. Poppy sat slumped in the passenger seat, her lips tightly drawn. Her expression resembled the one she makes when she's being scolded. They certainly didn't look like they were heading out for fun. But unable to follow them, I just went home. On the living room table was a note in Henry's handwriting saying "Eat out with Poppy. Don't worry, but we'll be late." Even if he tells me not to worry, how can I not after seeing them like that? I tried to push away my anxiety by making hamburger steaks. Time seemed to pass incredibly slowly. 2 hours passed, and they still hadn't returned. I didn't take a bath or turn on the TV, just sat waiting for them to come back. After 9 p.m., the front door opened. "I'm home." "Is Dad out?" "Where's Poppy?" Without saying anything, I showed Allison the note Henry had left. Allison read it and frowned. "Isn't it strange to keep her out this late, no matter what?" "I think so too. There's a lot I want to talk about, but first go change." "You must be tired, right?" After Allison changed clothes, I told her this wasn't the first time Henry had kept Poppy out late. Allison had also felt something was off about Poppy's behavior. But before we could reach any clear answers, time just kept passing. They finally returned much later. Although we questioned them, they gave only vague, evasive answers. Then, like before, they quietly ate dinner, took baths, and went straight to bed. Something is definitely wrong. They're hiding something. But how can we find out what it is? About 2 weeks later, on a Saturday afternoon, I was at the car dealership. I had taken the car in for inspection that morning. Although Henry drives it most of the time, the car is in my name, so I handle all the maintenance visits to the dealership. I'm familiar with the mechanic, and we chat casually. A few years ago, when Henry had an accident, we came together, so the mechanic knows that Henry usually uses this car. After returning the loaner car, I was in the waiting room when I could see my car through the glass. Next to it, the young mechanic in charge and what appeared to be a senior mechanic were talking with serious expressions. Soon after, the mechanic in charge came to me. "Thank you for waiting. The inspection went fine, but..." The mechanic rubbed his hands together nervously, seeming hesitant to continue. I suddenly felt anxious. "What is it? Was there a problem? Your husband has been using this car recently, right?" This is difficult to discuss here. Would you mind coming with me to check something? All right. I followed the mechanic to where the car was parked. He opened the car and pulled out a plastic bag. Actually, we found this on the floor during inspection. It's difficult to say, so I'd like you to see for yourself. I was shocked by what I saw in the bag. It was Poppy's missing underwear. The crumpled underwear was quite dirty. Furthermore, in the bag was Poppy's favorite hairpin. It was badly bent, with what looked like blood stains faintly stuck to it. Seeing these two items, I couldn't say anything. I was just shocked. But at the same time, this made it clear that Henry was doing something bad to Poppy. When I didn't say anything, the mechanic seemed to get worried. He peered at my face as he spoke. Are you all right? If you'd like, we could contact the police. His words brought me back to my senses. I'm sorry. Actually, these belong to my granddaughter. She probably hid them because she was embarrassed about having an accident. Is that so? I apologize. I thought there might have been some kind of incident. I see, they belong to your granddaughter. He must have been thinking about various possibilities too. I'm sorry to have worried you. By the way, can you check where this car has been through the navigation system? Yes, we can. Recent cars keep a history, which is how some affairs get discovered. Would you like to see it? Please. It didn't take long. The car had recently been to 3 places: Henry's workplace, our regular supermarket, and Henry's family home. Henry's family home is now vacant and there should be no reason to go there. So this must be where Henry took Poppy. Convinced of this, I told the mechanic, please dispose of this car, paid the inspection fee, and walked home. This car must be traumatic for Poppy. When I got home, I immediately confronted Henry about what happened at the dealership. These were found in the car. What were you doing with Poppy? Nothing special. She probably hid them because she was embarrassed about soiling her underwear. Then why did you go to your family home? It was in the car's navigation history. There's no reason to go there. There are reasons. Pulling weeds, cleaning. Poppy said she wanted to help, so I took her along. Henry lay on the sofa, answering my questions while yawning. Until that late at night? Poppy is only 8 years old. You're being annoying. Got a problem with that? Henry sat up and grabbed my collar. You told me to look after Poppy, so I did. Why am I getting blamed for it? Don't get too cocky. I was terrified. He's going to hit me. I instinctively closed my eyes. But even Henry drew the line at physical violence. He shoved me against the wall and went back to lounging on the sofa, laughing. I was so shaken my heart was pounding, and I couldn't speak. This conversation is over. Get out of here, you're annoying me. I don't know what I might do if you make me any angrier. In the end, I had to retreat without getting anything out of Henry. I cried in the bedroom out of frustration. But it was clear I couldn't match Henry's physical strength. He could easily crush me. Still, I couldn't let this continue. Face pressed into the bed, I made plans for what to do next. That night, after Henry went to bed, I consulted with Allison. When Allison heard everything, her face turned red with anger. I can't forgive Dad for this, even if he is my father. And to treat you so terribly too, she said, clenching her fists. I've been thinking, I want you to take the day off work the day after tomorrow. I'll take off too, and we'll keep Poppy home from school. That's not a problem, but what are you planning? Henry will be at work that day. I thought we could use that time to ask Poppy what's been happening. Allison crossed her arms and thought for a while. I didn't rush her, waiting for her to gather her thoughts. I understand what you're thinking. But I'm worried about Poppy. She must be traumatized. I know that. But we can't get anything out of Henry, and we don't have clear evidence. We have to hear it from Poppy. Monday came. Poppy seemed happy to skip school, smiling. Allison and I decided to ask her what was really happening. Poppy, where did you go with Grandpa? It's a secret. Poppy, please be honest with us. We'll protect you. Poppy's smile vanished at Allison's desperate plea. She puffed out her cheeks and stared at the TV. Poppy, please. Allison gently embraced Poppy from behind and whispered in her ear. Poppy's face contorted, and large tears began rolling down her cheeks. I hate Grandpa. I really hate him. Saying this, Poppy clung to Allison and began crying loudly. I gently rubbed her back to calm her down. I'm so sorry we didn't notice. It must have been really hard. But you're safe now, don't worry. Poppy cried for a while, but when she calmed down, she told us everything between sniffles. Grandpa suddenly said I had to practice. When I said no, he hit me. Practice what? Basketball. Even when I said no, he wouldn't stop, and the ball broke my hairpin. But I hid it because I was scared of making him angry. And about the underwear, I'm sorry. I had an accident. Grandpa. Poppy's body trembled just thinking about her grandfather. That's enough. How could he do such terrible things to this sweet child? I bit my lip hard in anger. Poppy, thank you for telling us. I'm so sorry you went through this. Why don't you rest in your room for a bit? Allison took Poppy to her room. Unforgivable. I made a decision to protect Poppy. When Allison returned to the living room, I told her, I'm going to call Henry. Allison must have understood what I was thinking. She nodded silently. What is it? Did something happen? My lunch break's almost over. I'm hungry, so make it quick. I put the phone on speaker. We heard everything from Poppy. You were forcing her to play basketball. That's right. I was teaching her basketball. Henry's tone suggested he thought he'd done nothing wrong. You knew she hated it, didn't you? She's covered in bruises, Allison said. Shut up. It's your fault. You were too weak, so I couldn't teach you basketball. Hearing Henry's words, I felt my body grow hot with anger. Stop doing whatever you want. Poppy's at an age where she'll do whatever adults tell her. Adults need to be more considerate. That's exactly why. You're stupid. Listen, you have to start sports early. It's almost too late at Poppy's age. So stop interfering. Why are you making her do something she hates? Nobody asked you to. As Allison and I pushed back, Henry grew increasingly irritated, his tone becoming more aggressive. I dreamed of becoming an Olympic athlete. That didn't work out, but things are different now. I can make Poppy an Olympic athlete. That's just your ego, isn't it? Don't drag Poppy into your dreams. Shut up. Wouldn't you be proud to have an Olympian in the family? You could brag to everyone you know. Plus, we could live comfortably off the money she'd earn. Doesn't sound so bad, does it? Henry seemed determined to make Poppy an Olympic basketball player. But this wasn't for Poppy's sake, it was for his own. He was taking out his frustration and bitterness over his own failed dreams on his granddaughter. What a pitiful man. My anger had turned to disgust. There's no point talking about this anymore. Henry, there's no one who can fulfill your broken dreams for you. Even if Poppy made it to the Olympics, it wouldn't make you any greater. What are you trying to say? All we can do now is watch over her growth. You must know that too. So give it up. Your dream is over. Don't mess with me. Henry's words trailed off. All we could hear was the faint sound of teeth grinding. Stop trying to teach Poppy basketball. If you love basketball so much, why don't you practice it yourself? I hung up after saying that. I had nothing more to say to Henry. Looking at Allison, I saw she was quietly crying. Allison, are you okay? Yes. I'm fine. Then Allison and I packed our belongings. We were leaving this house. Though I'd been married to my husband for many years, I couldn't forgive him for hurting Poppy. That's why I had decided to divorce him as soon as Poppy first told us what was happening. Poppy quickly understood and packed her school things. After we finished packing, I called a taxi to take us to the nearest hotel for now. I left a note on the table saying, "We're leaving. Divorce papers will be sent by mail." A few months later, on a holiday, we were sitting around the dinner table in our apartment. On the plates was Poppy's favorite beef hamburger steak. She was cheerfully telling us about her friends. And then, one of my friends stepped in dog poop. Hey! No talk like that during meals. Allison said this while laughing joyfully. I felt happy watching the two of them. Soon after we left, Allison told her boss about the situation. Her boss suggested we move into the company housing. Also, my divorce from Henry was settled quickly. As it turned out, someone living near Henry's family home had witnessed his interactions with Poppy. What they saw could hardly be called basketball practice. The neighbor had recorded videos as evidence and was about to report it to the police. That became decisive evidence, and Henry had to pay substantial compensation on top of the divorce. Henry must have realized something because he didn't put up much resistance. The dealership took care of the car as requested. Hey, Grandma, listen. Sorry, what is it? I listened happily to Poppy's stories. I'm so glad she's back to her cheerful self. Poppy was emotionally scarred because of Henry. Allison quit her part-time job to spend more time with Poppy. I also did everything I could to help heal Poppy's emotional wounds. Thanks to that, she gradually regained her smile. The wounds in her heart won't heal so easily. But both Allison and I are determined to stay by Poppy's side forever. And I'm going to play with my friends tomorrow too, so I'll have lots more stories to tell. Okay, I'm looking forward to hearing them. Have fun and be careful.